That was the great favor that Lorne did for me. He created that. They called it band shots. And it would come to the end of the show is 90 minutes, and it's divided into a bunch of segments, and in between each of those segments is however many minutes of commercial break, because that's how they make their money and sell the things and enable it all to go on, just by selling the commercial time. So Lorne, the comedy pieces are of a certain length, and sometimes there'd be 8 seconds of just dead air. What are they going to do? You know, okay, I know what we'll do, Lorne says. Let's get the band to start playing. Because we would always play on those commercial breaks anyway, for the people in the house. And he says, we'll just start as soon as the other thing's over. Joe Dixell will signal, and boom, and you hit it. So that's what we started doing. Mm-hmm. And it became a thing somehow. I don't know how. I mean, I was there with my buddy T-Bone from Hall & Oates, your departed T-Bone. We were, I don't know what's the word. We were archetypal enough, American characters, that it caught with people. T-Bone always had the hat. He kind of looked like a guy from Vermont that did this when he was talking to you, you know. And we were on The Simpsons. They did me and T-Bone on The Simpsons, you know, at Saturday Night Live, doing the band thing, twice. He bought me one of the original cells for my birthday one year. He got it from the guy. So that became like a thing, you know, and if I'm known to people in America when I'm walking around, it's because of that. 10 years on television. Television is, now it's kind of certainly on a par with the internet, but in those days, before the internet, that was the most important thing in America. That was the most powerful information vehicle in America, was television. That's where people learned about stuff from.
You always look like you were having such a good time, too. You have this giant smile on your face. Like,
There's
what's
worse
going through your
jobs.
head?
When I used to work for Uncle Eddie and drive those trucks, you know, and I'd get those 50-pound crates of celery with the wire, and you'd cut your hand and stuff. This is a way better job doing this here. Because I'm not a schooled musician, I can't sit down and actually write out an arrangement. But after I'd been on Saturday Night Live a couple years and had worked with people like Leon Pendarvis, Steve Ture, the fabulous trombone player there, Steve would help me. Cheryl, certainly, she'd sit me down. Both her and Leon would sit me down at the piano and say, here, I know the notes on the piano, you know, here, see how this chord leads to this, and then you can do this, and it brings you to, oh, boom, and the little thing would open up, you know. So Lenny, I worked with Lenny a lot, Pickett, doing arrangements. And then for a lot of those band shot things that we did, I had old records that I loved, that I knew that either very few people were aware of these records, or only a small segment of other insane musician people like me had this record, you know. So I'd bring the record in, and we had what they call takedown guys. And they would listen, there are people who can listen to something and just write it down, like Mozart. They hear it. It's this violin player named Andy Stein, and I did a Django Reinhardt tribute thing with him. And I'd put something on, and he'd go, write it out, play it. To me, that's like, oh man, because I got to sit down with it and listen to it and live with it for a few days, and you know, it takes me a while to learn. So I was always fascinated by those people. So that's how we got arrangements done. And then if we wrote something, I would sit there with Lenny or Lou Delgado, who was the contractor on the band. He was also the baritone sax player. And Lou and me would sit there, and I'd play it for him, and he'd write it out, and then we'd get it to the guys who actually write out by hand the arrangements. I'm sure they got a computer that does it now, but back then you had to write it out. And everybody got paid. See, that's what was good about doing arrangements. Howard told me when I first got on the show, he says, make sure you write a piece of music for every single show. Make sure you got one thing in there that you wrote and you own the publishing. Somehow, NBC wasn't taking our publishing, wasn't taking part of the publishing. You know, I owned 100% of my publishing. And that was fantastic because residuals, you get paid every time they show, and they show those over and over. Every time they show them, you know, for years. It's not a huge amount of money, but you're getting a taste, and that can keep you going in those times when you're not working. Because we don't work all the time, musicians. You know, we have these great runs that people see us and like, oh man, that guy must be rich, he must be on top of it. They don't know about the months and months where there's nothing. Nothing. The phone does not ring. January, February, March, a lot of times there's not much going on.